always play dirty and I never fight fair. The only side I'm on is my own. And the only place I'll lead you is off a cliff.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Colton Ogburn, and these are all the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in Wednesday, Season 2, Part 1. That's right, after a nearly 3-year hiatus, Woe is back on the menu. Jenna Ortega and Tim Burton are back at it again with their iconic new take on the Addams Family. Season 1 of the show, which featured Wednesday's first year at Nevermore Academy, concluded with Wednesday successfully saving the Academy from Thornhill and Tyler the Hyde. Now, Season 2 opens with showing us what Wednesday has been up to between school years, aka Seasons 1 and 2. We see Wednesday come in contact with a serial killer known as the Scalper, portrayed by Haley Joel Osment, who is of course most famously known for his role in The Sixth Sense.
I see dead people.
But he has also had some great recent roles on shows like The Boys and most recently Happy Gilmore 2. So this opening song, the beginning of Favorite Things by Hunter and Mortar,
Bright copper kettles.
This is a cover of the song Favorite Things from the classic movie musical The Sound of Music.
Bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens.
Now here surrounding Wednesday are creepy ass dolls, and here we can see one that is foreshadowing the one-eyed bird that we would meet later in the season. And I also really like how this show almost feels like it's a continuation of the original Addams Family TV show from the 60s, with flashbacks being in black and white. The younger Wednesday in these flashbacks is even wearing the same outfit from that original series. So next we see Wednesday is still her gloomy, secluded self and has a turbulent relationship still with her mother, Morticia.
When do I get to read your novel?
When the sun explodes and the earth is consumed in a molten apocalypse.
The song playing here is Un Mundo Raro by Chavela Vargas.
Chop chop.
The lyrics of this song talk about someone feeling for someone else who can't love or who is very guarded. This is in reference to Wednesday being a very standoffish person who keeps her walls up almost all of the time. And it's a nod to the complicated relationship between Wednesday and Tyler in Season 1 and the many betrayals from Season 1 that have fortified Wednesday's reluctance for love and friendship, which affects her relationship with Enid. Next we find out that Wednesday's psychic ancestor guide, Goody Addams, who we met in Season 1.
You are the true monster, all of you!
Goody has abandoned Wednesday, and now every time Wednesday uses her abilities, black tears stream down her face. We then get our first casualty of the season, Carl Bradbury, a PI. He's murdered by a flock of crows that pecked his eyes out, and this is a nod to Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. So Wednesday returns to Nevermore Academy with her brother Pugsley now joining her and confirmed to now have the same lightning powers as his Uncle Fester, and of course the same powers as the Senate. Here we see the Addams Family license plate, which also shows us that they are from Jersey. Now on the grounds we see the Telltale Cafe. This is based on the Edgar Allan Poe story, A Telltale Heart. So following Wednesday saving the school last season, she is now famous and admired by other students.
Can I get your autograph?
Now, since Principal Weems, played by Gwendolyn Christie in Season 1, died in the finale, a new principal has now taken over, that of course being Barry Dort, played by Steve Buscemi.
Is it Buscemi or Buscemi?
It's Steve Buscemi.
And remember, Buscemi previously worked with Tim Burton on Big Fish. Now, Dort is trying to restore the community spirit and status of Nevermore Academy. Here we can see the uniforms are purple and black now, whereas in the first season they were blue and black. This could be an attempt at rebranding the school. Wednesday reunites with Enid, who has embraced her werewolfness and gets closer to Bruno, who's in her wolf pack, while distancing herself from her previous love interest, Ajax. We also learn that Wednesday's novel that she's been working on for 2 years hasn't been well received by her publisher. We then find out that Wednesday has a stalker that eludes her clairvoyance, kicking off the season's big mystery.
You have a stalker?
Don't be jealous.
So over with Pugsley, he's dorming with Eugene, who we met last season, and who helped Wednesday save Nevermore with his bees. Their room is in Caliban Hall, which used to be Gomez's old dorm. And Caliban is a reference to the character from Shakespeare's The Tempest, a half-human, half-monster son of the sea witch Sycorax. And here on this flag, we see the moon with an island signaling a relation to The Tempest. Now, Dort employs Morticia as the chair of Nevermore's fundraising committee. The previous chairman was Vincent Thorpe, father of Xavier Thorpe, one of Wednesday's love interests from Season 1.
Don't know a lot of people who would take an arrow for me, so
Welcome to the 21st century, Addams.
But Xavier doesn't attend Nevermore anymore, and the in-universe explanation was that when he was accused of murder in the first season, his dad was the chairman and top donor of the school, and so following that, he pulled his son and his funding, and they now live in Switzerland. But the real reason that they're not in this show is likely because the actor who plays Xavier got tangled up in a controversy in between seasons, and it's very likely that they just decided to write him out. So next we see Morticia and Gomez are housed near the school in a cottage where Laurel Gates stayed last year. The cottage is named Rotwood Cottage, which is interesting because Lady Gaga has been reported to be playing a teacher named Rosalind Rotwood, so maybe we'll be seeing her in the second half of this season. So Morticia tells Wednesday about her experience with psychics and mentions her sister Ophelia.
You remind me a lot of her.
They reference Aunt Ophelia going mad with her visions, which could be a nod to the character from Hamlet and like the 1964 series version of Ophelia. And there is also a hall at Nevermore named Ophelia Hall that is also in reference to the Shakespeare character, and maybe in universe is a reference to Aunt Ophelia herself. Now, Wednesday comes across the crime scene of Branbury's murder, meeting the new sheriff, Santiago, and reuniting with ex-sheriff Donovan Galpin. Galpin is Tyler's father and was working on a case with Bradbury, which led to his death, and we now see Wednesday being asked to help with the case. We then see Ajax tell the residents of Caliban Hall the story of the skull tree where a brilliant student at Nevermore replaced his own failing heart with a self-made mechanical heart, but it ends up losing emotion and it leaves his corpse by a tree near the school. Now, this story is told through Tim Burton's classic style of stop-motion animation in the same vein as Corpse Bride, Frankenweenie, and Nightmare Before Christmas.
Everybody scream! Everybody scream!
So next we see Dort try to recruit Bianca Barkley, a siren, to be a student liaison for the fundraising committee. Last season we saw Bianca rescue her mother from a cult, and now she has her in hiding. Bianca tries to get out of it, but Dort blackmails her by threatening to take away her scholarship, and this puts Bianca back in a somewhat antagonistic position. Now, while Wednesday is playing cello, she meets Nevermore's new music teacher, Miss Capri. Capri is played by actress and musician Billie Piper, most known for her role as Rose Tyler in Doctor Who.
Better to die than live like you, a bitchy trampoline.
Now, when preparing for the bonfire, Dort has Da Vinci students, most likely named after artist and engineer Leonardo da Vinci, and he is having them create a pyre in the shape of a flying raven, again a nod to the Edgar Allan Poe story, The Raven. Wednesday receives a painting from Xavier illustrating the one-eyed bird vessel that has been stalking her. She then finds a note from her stalker that reveals that her manuscript has been stolen and is about to be burned at the bonfire. The song playing here is No Time to Cry by the Sisters of Mercy. Like the song, Wednesday is always on the move for mystery and uncovering the truth, and not depending on emotion. So Capri leads the singing of the alma mater song, Forged in Trust. And the choir seems to consist of all sirens indicated by the mermaid tails on their jackets. Now, Dort lights the bonfire as Wednesday is inside trying to grab her book, and when she comes out, Dort names her Student of Honor and unveils the portrait done of her and her friends saving Nevermore. Wednesday rebukes the sentiment and reestablishes her standing as an outcast within Nevermore, burning the portrait on stage. Meanwhile, Pugsley goes to the skull tree and accidentally reawakens the student from the story with his lightning, which is very reminiscent of Frankenstein and even more specifically Frankenweenie, another Tim Burton project.
You're alive! You're alive!
The episode ends with Wednesday getting a vision of Enid's death and Wednesday as the cause. Now, Wednesday keeps the vision of Enid's death secret from Enid as not to worry her of her demise. Episode 2 starts with Wednesday waking up from the vision and waving off a warning from her mother that she's abusing her abilities.
Your ability is not a weapon to be deployed, it's a gift to be respected.
Wednesday heads to Galpin's house to work on the case. We see the house has been graffitied and damaged from the community in response to Tyler's attack on the town as the Hyde last season. Wednesday goes inside and finds Galpin's body disfigured with his eyes pecked out. Now, when trying to find out what happened to Galpin, Wednesday finds that her psychic abilities no longer work.
My ability. It's not working.
Pugsley has kept the Skull Tree zombie locked in Eugene's bee shed, and he names him Slurp. Meanwhile, it's prank day at Nevermore, highlighted by the song You Really Got Me by the Kinks. At the Telltale Cafe, you can see 2 new drinks on the menu. We see Fall of the House of Usher chai, which is a nod to the Poe story of the same name, and it's also a pun on the word fall since the fall semester has begun, and chai, especially pumpkin chai lattes, are very popular during this time, and Wednesday is of course a perfect spooky season show. We also have The Murders in the Rue Macchiato, also based on the Murders in the Rue Morgue short story by Poe. Some have even called it the first modern detective story, which fits perfectly with Wednesday, and the protagonist in Murders in the Rue Morgue is not a professional detective like Wednesday, and is just a truth seeker and involves a non-human at the helm of the mystery. Next, we're introduced to a new teacher, Professor Orloff, played by Christopher Lloyd of Back to the Future fame and of Addams Family fame, having played Uncle Fester.
The Bermuda Triangle is a very strange and mysterious place.
Professor Orloff informs Wednesday that an avian, someone who controls birds, hasn't attended Nevermore in 10 years. Meanwhile, Bianca tries to have Morticia find donors for the fundraising committee, and we find out that, like Wednesday, Morticia also has a strained relationship with her mother. We then learn that Morticia has stolen Goody Adams' book that was given to Wednesday. And then we see Wednesday impersonate Enid and uses her driving lesson as a means to get to the Willow Hill Asylum. Now, while waiting for answers to her case, Wednesday meets Judy, an administrator at Willow Hill Asylum. Judy is played by Heather Matarazzo, most notable for her role as Lily in The Princess Diaries.
At least your dad's still alive.
Hey, I thought you're getting over that. It's been what, 2 months?
We then meet Dr. Fairburn, the lead doctor at the asylum. Wednesday is brought in as a strategy to rehabilitate Tyler. Tyler provides no answers, but threatens to kill Enid, reminding Wednesday of her vision and her mission to keep Enid safe and distant from herself. Now, back at the dorms, Wednesday finds Thing trapped and Bruno and Enid kidnapped. This culminates at the top of the school's tower, and Enid says,
"I closed it off years ago after it was damaged in some freak electrical storm."
Now, this is a fun nod to Christopher Lloyd's Back to the Future, where the clock tower is destroyed due to a lightning strike. So the pair realize that they're in danger when threatened by a ceiling of swords, like the Sword of Damocles. Wednesday searches for them and is followed by a figure in a red cape and mask, and this is a nod to Edgar Allan Poe's short story, The Mask of the Red Death, where a figure in a blood-splattered robe and with a mutilated face mask haunts the protagonist. Enid's relationship with Bruno progresses, but they are soon threatened by the sword ceiling lowering slowly. This is reminiscent of another Poe short story, The Pit and the Pendulum, where the narrator is on his back and a pendulum is swinging back and forth and slowly descending. The creator of the trap is revealed to be Agnes, one of Wednesday's fangirls that can turn invisible. This ability being based on The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. Now, over with Morticia when she informs Gomez of her reaching out to her mother due to Bianca's siren song. We see them dance the tango, a staple dance both from the 60s TV series and the 90s films. Now, episode 3 opens with the Slurp zombie slowly regenerating after eating human flesh, while Pugsley figures out what to do with him during the class camping trip. We then see Bianca go and check on her mother, who is secretly squatting at the inn at Apple Hollow to hide from her former husband and cult master. Wednesday realizes that she has to go on the school camping trip to get near a potential location for clues to her case. Like last season, this invokes the feeling of Wednesday in the Addams Family Values movie, where she and Pugsley are forced to go to an outdoor summer camp.
Why are you dressed like somebody died?
Wait.
Now, after having their camping trip interrupted by a troop of Boy Scouts wearing similar attire to the counselors in Family Values, Wednesday helps Nevermore win the competition, securing their place at the camp. Now, during the campfire song, Wednesday journeys to Galpin's cabin while the lyrics "Don't go around tonight, it's bound to take your life, there's a bad moon on the rise" foreshadow a grisly fate for both Wednesday and Nevermore. Now, while Wednesday looks around the cabin, Thing walks on to a chessboard and grabs the queen to knock out the knight, which is likely foreshadowing something that will happen later in the season. So Wednesday locates an evidence board detailing deceased Willow Hill outcast patients. Determined to get Goody Adams' book from her mother, Wednesday challenges her to a blindfolded duel. This is a nod to the sword fight that Wednesday and Pugsley engaged in the 1991 The Addams Family. When Morticia accepts and compares Wednesday to her grandmother, she mentions her name as Grandmama.
I feel your grandmama's bony fingerprints all over this Queen's Gambit.
Now, this may get a little confusing. So in the original Addams Family comic strips by Charles Addams, Grandmama was called Grandma Frump and was Gomez's mother. But when creating the 1964 TV series, the characters were given the last names Addams after their creator. Frump was then made Morticia's maiden name instead. The series then introduced another grandma, Granny Hester Frump, who was Morticia and Ophelia's mother. But due to the creator originally naming Grandmama Granny Frump, both the 90s movies and the 1992 TV series retconned her as being Morticia's mom. Now, in the 1988 TV series, she is back to being Gomez and Fester's mom. In this series, she is known as Grandmama by her family and Hester Frump to everyone else. Now, as Morticia and Wednesday duel, Slurp the zombie escapes Pugly's tent and eats the troop leader. Slurp then gets taken away to Willow Hill Asylum as Wednesday spots the figure of her stalker. We then hear a cello cover of Losing My Religion by R.E.M., signaling Wednesday's feeling of hopelessness and frustration over her mother, and her lack of progress on the case. The episode ends with the reveal of Laurel Gates, Tyler's mom, played by Christina Ricci, the former Wednesday, who is now being moved to Willow Hill Asylum. Now, Laurel proposes to Dr. Fairburn a deal where she provides information regarding Tyler if she is allowed to visit him. Tyler recognizes Laurel and then turns into the Hyde, almost killing her.
I know you're upset. It's just calming down. I promise I'll get you out of here.
We then see Wednesday go to retrieve the ashes of the outcast on the evidence board, and she is greeted by Grandmama, played by Joanna Lumley. Lumley previously worked with Tim Burton when she voiced Lady Madeline Everglot in The Corpse Bride. Now, with Grandmama's help, Wednesday figures out that the ashes of the victims are fake and has her evidence stolen by the stalker, and she is also dropped by her publisher. Now, to find more clues about her stalker, Wednesday recruits Uncle Fester to sneak into Willow Hill Asylum. Fester admits to being at Willow Hill before and has a shock therapist named Igor.
They had a top-notch electroshock therapist, Igor. He ran a gulag in Siberia.
Now, while Fester tries to get committed to the asylum, over at Apple Hollow Inn, the police find Bianca's mom. Wednesday confronts Morticia and finds out that Ophelia was committed to Willow Hill Asylum after being found screaming with black tears dripping down her face when she was in her sophomore year. So Grandmama meets with Morticia and tells Wednesday,
Augustus Stonehurst. That's who signed those death certificates.
Now, when given an ultimatum, Morticia burns Goody's book. So we see Wednesday find out more about Augustus Stonehurst.
Augustus Stonehurst used to be the normie head doctor at Willow Hill, but before that, he taught science at Nevermore.
They find out that he is a patient at his own hospital, and they plan to infiltrate it when the stalker commands their flock to attack the Nevermore students. Now, at the police station, Bianca and Ajax rescue her mother from interrogation. Fester meets with Stonehurst and learns information that would lead to the stalker.
How do I find Lois?
51971. 51971.
Wednesday speaks with Professor Orloff, who mentions Stonehurst was a normie and had a daughter and built her an aviary similar to the one we see him sitting in. Fester is soon found out and is locked up with Slurp, who is looking more regenerated since we last saw him. Now, Wednesday plans to infiltrate the asylum by hiding in Capri's car while she travels to Willow Hill to teach a music class. Now, when Wednesday and Fester sneak out of the cell, Slurp escapes and eats the guard, escorting Laurel. Wednesday and Fester discover a secret lab, and they discover that Lois isn't a person but an acronym. There they find all the outcast victims who were reported dead being experimented on. And at the last cell, Wednesday calls out to a frail woman in a flowered dress, most likely Aunt Ophelia. So the stalker finds them, and she is revealed to be none other than the asylum administrator, Judy.
Shut up!
Judy is Augustus's daughter, who he collaborated with and experimented on to give her outcast powers, thus making her an avian. We see Fester shoot out a bolt of electricity, which shuts down the power at the asylum, freeing all the patients. Laurel then runs to free Tyler and reestablish their bond, but Tyler once again hides out and attacks, this time killing her. So Slurp finds Dr. Fairburn with Augustus and he attacks. And when faced with the zombie, Augustus shows a frightened look of recognition. Slurp then growls out loud,
Old friend.
Wednesday then comes across Tyler, and part 1 of season 2 ends with her being thrown from a seemingly lethal height and now lying on the ground covered in blood. Now, as far as what we think might happen in part 2, we still have a lot of questions that have yet to be answered. Last we saw, Judy the stalker was chased out of the asylum by the victims of her experiments, and we have no confirmation on where she is and if her plan still leads to Enid's death. But thinking about it, it really makes no sense for Judy to lead to Enid's death. Judy, after all, faked the death of the outcast to understand them and experiment on them, not to actually kill them. Now, we know from season 1 that this series loves to add in red herrings to hype up the mystery and give us a major misdirect. And we have to remember that Wednesday has grown over the summer, but she is still very stubborn on solving things her own way and making rash decisions, something that her mother has warned her about throughout the season. And we have also yet to see a certain confirmed cameo that could provide more answers, such as Lady Gaga's teacher character, Rosalind Rotwood. Remember, we saw that name on the cottage where Morticia and Gomez are residing. Now, this might be a stretch, but stay with me here. I think that Slurp's name is going to be revealed as Rotwood, and that he is related to Lady Gaga's character, most likely her father or some other relative. And we have it confirmed that Slurp and Stonehurst know each other well, and Slurp was famous for being the most brilliant mind at Nevermore. Brilliant enough to warrant a cottage on campus to be named after him. After all, it's not far-fetched for teachers to be related to famous townfolks in this show. Now, this is where the show might take a different route, either sticking with Judy being the cause for Wednesday inadvertently killing Enid, or perhaps having Slurp be the main threat. Once he fully regenerates into a human, he would still have a metal heart devoid of emotion. Now, throughout the season, we have seen Wednesday go through moments where her emotions are more guarded than usual, not letting Enid in on her vision, thinking that it is best for her to stay unaware. She also forgets Thing's birthday when she is preoccupied with the case, and agreeing with her grandmother that emotions need to be buried deep inside.
No crying over spilt ashes.
And having a benign reliance on her visions to solve cases alone, not to mention all the non-diegetic songs symbolizing her despair. So we think that Wednesday and her family's reunion with Ophelia is the key to bringing Morticia and her daughter together. Learning from both Morticia and Ophelia's trauma will help Wednesday's visions come back and help control her black tears. And with her new understanding from Ophelia and her mother, she'll confide in Enid and once again save Nevermore. But hey, those are just our thoughts and theories and everything we caught in the first half of season 2. Huge shout out to Srinidhi Rao for her extensive research writing this video and her very impressive Addams Family lore knowledge. Let us know your thoughts on the first half of the season down in the comments below, and if you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time we upload a new video. For ScreenCrush, I'm Colton Ogburn.